Hello, I am Minecraft Phenom 08, and this is episode 32 of my Billionaire Minecraft series where I will collect 1 billion iron ingots, gold ingots, diamonds, and emeralds using the All the Mods 6 mod pack in Modern Minecraft 1.16. In today's episode, I'm going to build a bigger reactor with a couple of turbines from the mod Bigger Reactors, so let's get started. So first off, I have most of the things that hopefully I will need crafted up in this modular storage unit. And I'm going to tote this over to my new building that you saw last episode if you watched, where I set up my storage system over there. So let's go ahead and plunk this thing down and get started building a reactor. So the first step is actually building the reactor, and so let's grab all of the things that I'll need for that. And this reactor is going to be different than the reactors I have built earlier in this series, in that this reactor will be cooled by turbines rather than just producing power. So it will not actually directly produce power, but it will be able to produce power through turbines. So it's going to be more efficient and produce more power. It's also going to be bigger than the reactors I built before. Actually, the reactor I built here at this base that's underground is actually probably just about as big. So I need to get my Ethan out of the way because he's totally blocking my screen. Let's grab the graphite, the reactor control rods. I'm sure I'm missing something in here. But yeah, I'll need the hopper and the chest, and I probably won't need those, but I will need the configurator along with the sink because we'll need to get water into the reactor. So the reactor I'm going to build for right now, and I'm actually going to make this to where I can build it taller in the future. That's why this building does not have a roof. So let's go ahead and grab that. I also want to grab a wand here just to make this build process easier. So I do need to scroll this to be the left-right mode, and what we're going to do is build the floor of the reactor first, and then let's go ahead and build up. And I just want to build it to be 7 high, and I should have been counting there, or 7 above the floor. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and that's perfect. And now let's go ahead and build over. And right now I'm just kind of building the frame of it. The rest of it I'm going to build mostly with glass, the exterior that is. On the interior I have a few different options for how I actually want to build it. So let's build this up and over. And I can actually probably almost reach that, which is kind of crazy because of my reach enchantment on my armor. Yeah, I can reach it now. So that's really cool, and that makes things just kind of easier. So here's kind of the shell of the reactor, obviously not filled in, but this block right here needs to go because this is where I'm going to put my controller. So the controller is the reactor terminal rather, so let's put that down. And then I need to figure out where my control rods or my fuel rods are going to be rather. So I actually already have that planned out, and I'm going to put one here, and one here. And between them, I'm going to use graphite because graphite will give a higher radioactivity on the fuel rods, or on the fuel rather. So let's go ahead and build these up to the right height, and I accidentally jumped sideways. Did not want to do that. And let's do this one over here. And now let's do the graphite up as well. Actually, I probably should have tested this reactor without anything. Without the graphite, but I'm probably going to test it without any other moderator blocks in here, and then I'm probably going to add something like diamonds just to make it more efficient. So now let's add the access ports, and I think I can do this on the bottom, but I'm not 100% sure in this mod. So, or this iteration of this mod. So let's build right here. Let's put the access points, and let's go ahead and place a couple of these coolant manifolds. And I'm going to place one here and then one over here. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to place the second one right now. I'm just going to place the one, and I'm going to see if that will be enough. One for the bottom for the sheer water input. So let's go ahead and start building this reactor up. And the first step I'm going to do is just build kind of a ring around the bottom, and then I should be able to use my wand to build this up very quickly. Okay, so let's grab my wand here. I do need to switch its mode to no restriction whatsoever. So as you can see, it is building up. And the cool thing about having reach here is that I can do that pretty easily. So on these faces here, I'm going to have the turbines. I'm going to have 2 turbines in the room, and they're going to be in kind of this space right here and then that space over there. I do need the reactor. The reactor does need to be able to give it steam and then retrieve the water that the reactor, or the turbine rather, will produce. So I need to make a couple of holes in the reactor so that I can put some coolant manifolds. And unfortunately, this pickaxe is actually kind of too good right now. I'm breaking way too many blocks. And I upgraded it between episodes to be unobtainium. That way I can mine some random stuff in the other dimension where I'm fighting lots of dragons at the moment, off camera. So I think that's good. So what I want to do now is I want to place these coolant manifolds. And I'm not sure if I'm going to have to make some of them red and some of them blue like in the past. I probably will. So let's top off this reactor. So on the top of the fuel rods here, we need to add the control rods. And then on the rest of the top, I'm just going to have glass. So I can do that pretty easily with a wand here. And I'm just going to do the left-right mode. And then let's do this. Oh, whoops. And that should just about be everything, except for the fact that maybe... am I missing anything, or do I just need to move some stuff? I think I just need to move some stuff, because I think maybe the coolant manifold and the inputs there can't be on the bottom. So let's test out that theory real fast. So I'm just going to replace those blocks with reactor casings here. And actually, you know what? Let's grab a different pickaxe if I have any. So let's grab this pickaxe because it's a little bit slower and won't break a bunch of blocks that I don't mean to break. So let's just replace all those blocks with these. Okay, so it's still not forming up. So I might have a mistake somewhere. Or I'm missing a block somewhere, or something like that. I can almost guarantee that is what is the case. So I'm trying to think, am I breaking any rules that I know of? I'm actually not. I can't. Yeah, and it's definitely not formed up because I can't right click on that. Let's remove the coolant manifolds, and because these blocks are actually different than the previous iteration, which would be like fluid inputs and outputs. So let's remove those and see if it forms up. Okay, yeah, so that's the problem. Let me quickly see if I can figure out. Actually, let's do this. It's from the mod Bigger Reactors, so. Okay, so I'm probably gonna need these blocks actually. Maybe. Yeah, evaporator channel and condenser channel. And then I might need some of these coolant manifolds in the inside. I'm not 100% sure how they work because they are new, I think. Okay, so maybe I need these coolant ports rather than these evaporation channels. Actually, I bet I need the coolant ports. I bet the evaporation channels and the coolant manifolds are part of some upgrade to this mod that I'm not really familiar with. So I'm not gonna tinker with that right now because I kind of have a vision for how I want this. And I'm pretty sure it'll work. So let's go ahead and grab some coolant ports here. And that is not where I want to do that. I want to actually automate this. So let's find a spot for this and make 4 of these. I might also need a wrench of some sort, which I do not have currently. So let's grab these. I also want to tell my system to make a bunch of diamond blocks if I can, because I think that's the interior of the reactor. I'm going to use diamond blocks as moderators, or coolants rather. So let's go ahead and do that. I have plenty of diamonds, to be honest, so that's not really a problem. And let's get rid of some of the stuff that I know I don't need. I don't think I'm going to need those coolant manifolds, and I shouldn't need any more of that. I will need these. Okay, so that's just about it. While I'm here, I might as well see if there is a wrench of some sort from this mod. And I don't see one. But I think I'm going to make a crescent hammer, which is a wrench that has been compatible in the past. Just in case. So let's make an iron gear, and then I should be able to make that crescent hammer, which is a wrench. I'm sure it's part of some joke that it's called a crescent hammer. But anyways, let's put in these coolant ports here. Whoops. Back in where these blocks were, because that is where they are going to interface with the turbines. Okay, so cool. Let's do the top speed outputs. So that'll work just fine. And then on the bottom here, we need to add these reactor access ports back. So let's do one there and one here. And that works, so cool. And then I also need another coolant port. Totally forgot, I need a place to actually add the water to the reactor. And that'll be right here, I think will be a good spot for that. Okay, so what we're gonna need to do is, let me actually get on my elevator. This reactor will no longer produce power, it will produce steam. So that is, we need to give it water. And so how I'm gonna do that is I'm gonna put a sink right here, and then I'm going to grab some, oh, where did my storage go? I need to grab some ultimate mechanical pipe or some other method of getting water into the reactor. And I do have my configurator. This mechanical pipe is the top tier mechanism pipe for fluids. So that's what I'm going to be using. And we're just going to use the configurator right here to tell it to output. And that should draw water really quickly into the reactor. And as you can see, it is already full of water. So that's fantastic. The next thing we need to do is actually give this thing uranium. So this one's going to be the output, and what I'm going to do right here is, and actually I don't think a chest will work. So let's do my old friend, the modular storage unit. And I'm not sure if a chest will work because I know manually you can't open a chest when there are things above it. So what I'm going to do is have a modular storage unit right, and let's fly up and try to get this right here. I do need to put this in and lock it. This will be where the waste is going to go, so we're going to put a hopper into there. So let me actually make sure that this is auto ejecting. It should be. Okay, so that looks good. So what we're going to do is, actually it might have been easier to build them something like here. You know what, whatever, it doesn't super matter. You know what, it'll look neater if I do it that way. So I am gonna change this. I'm gonna put my IO blocks right here instead, here and here, and then let's go ahead and get this back. Okay, so this one can be output. And we can put the modular storage unit right here. Let's do the hopper into that. And then why this will be easier is because I will have less cabling, and it will just be neater cabling. So actually I don't have any covered cable with me, but I should have some made. And so basically I can just do one cable right here, and I can have the import bus to draw out the cyanite, the used fuel out of the reactor, and then this can be to put in the uranium. So let's tell this to inject that into the reactor. And as we can see, the reactor is now full of fuel. So if I turn this thing on, it's just going to get really hot really fast and make a bunch of steam because that steam has nowhere to go. So that's where the second part of this episode comes in, and we are going to build some turbines. So I'm going to build two identical turbines. Right now, I think what I'm going to do is just build one of them, and then I'm going to duplicate it off camera. So let's start grabbing blocks here. So first off, the turbine casings is going to be the shell of the reactor. We need the turbine coolant ports, power taps, rotor bearings, terminals. We need rotor shafts. We need rotor blades. And we are going to need ludicrite blocks. So on the interior of the reactor, you can use different materials as the coils. And the coils are basically where the power actually is generated from. And the better coil you use, typically the more power you'll get. There are differences. Some of them are more efficient, some of them have more drag, so on and so forth. But I'm not very good at explaining this, so it'd be better if you just looked up some old guides on the bigger reactors or big reactors or extreme reactors, coolants, or not coolants, coil blocks for turbines, because there are some old guides that are pretty decent, and I've used them in the past and they work just fine. So what we're going to do is I'm going to use ludicrite because I know that's the top tier material. It is provided by the mod, but the mod also uses blocks from other mods, such as I believe like things like endurium blocks can be used, iron blocks, copper blocks, things like that. But those blocks are not nearly as good as, say, the ludicrite blocks that I'm going to be using today. So to make ludicrite, there's actually two different recipes, and I should probably show this because it is kind of very expensive for a lot of players. So this is the recipe I'm actually using. You can also use this recipe, which uses endurium. I'm using blocks of emerald, ender pearls, and nether stars. So I'm using this recipe because I have lots of nether stars and emeralds. I also have lots of emeralds. So yeah, that's why I've made the decisions that I have. So right here in the middle, this is going to be where we have our rotor shaft, and that just extends through the middle of the turbine here. And I believe on this iteration of the mod, you need a rotor bearing on either side of it. In past versions, you only needed one rotor bearing, and then on the other side, you just simply used a turbine casing, and that was valid. I didn't grab any glass, did I? I still have it in my system, I think. Yeah. So let's grab a bunch of turbine glass because I'm going to need a lot of that. Up against these coolant ports of the reactor, we need turbine coolant ports. And I might actually... Can I do this? Where'd I put my crescent hammer? Did I put it in here? I did. I'm not sure if I can toggle these or not, or if I have to be... Okay, so I'm not sure how I'm going to toggle these when I have my turbine built. Typically, I build the turbines right up against the reactors, and that's worked in the past, but I'm not sure if that's going to work right now. So I'm just going to continue and hope it does. So right now, I'm just going to build this out and see if it works. So let's get rid of that. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my wand to kind of pull this across. So I need to set this to the no restriction mode and just kind of pull this across. So that's fantastic. And now let's go ahead and do the turbine blades. And I'm going to be using this configuration right here. So I didn't mention that when building these turbines, you need to use basically a rectangular shape. And in the middle of that rectangular shape, you need this turbine rotor shaft. That's where that needs to be. So you can use, I think, 5x5. I'm using 7x7 as mine, but you can also use 9x9, and I think you can go bigger as well. Okay, so that is, I need one more, I think. Yeah. So this is a design I've actually used in the past. It should still be pretty good, so that's why I'm going to use it again. It's 7x7. It's going to have 24 ludicrite blocks, It's not going to be the most efficient setup, but it is going to be pretty efficient. So I want my controllers to be here, and then my other controller will be like right here on the other reactor. And then my power taps are going to be right here. And then the last thing I need to do is block up this side of the reactor, or the turbine rather. And then it should form up. And once the textures change, you know that it is valid. And it looks like it's valid, so that's cool. So there are different settings here. So typically I set the vent to overflow only, so the what the reactor does, or what the turbine does rather, is it takes steam and it makes it back into water, and that water is typically sent back to the reactor and then made into steam again. And basically it's a cycle, and it also will produce energy here. So flow rate governor. Wait, can you give this thing a lot more steam than before? Before there was a limit of how much steam you could actually send through the reactor, or the turbine rather. So let's go ahead and turn this on. And that's kind of ridiculous. I'm making... Oh, whoops. I accidentally jumped on my elevator. Oh, because I have this off. Derp. So it really looks like they've completely upped how much steam you can have. So this right here is how you increase or decrease how much steam you can let through the reactor. Typically, in the past, I've done like 2,000 millibuckets or thereabouts for like the maximum size turbines, which would be like 9 by 9 by 13 or something like that. This turbine is obviously 7 by 7 by what, 12 maybe. So yeah, let's just see what happens. I do want to turn down my reactor because it's going to produce way too much steam right now. So let's do down to 90% maybe. And I am holding control right now, so I am doing all of the, or alt rather. So I'm doing all of the rods. So if we take a look at the other rods, they're also at 90%. So let's turn this on and see kind of where it gets me. So the temperature difference here is because I don't have any blocks basically between the fuel rods and the casing of the reactor. I'm going to add some diamond blocks here in just a little bit. It does look like this is spinning. However, I haven't set it up to actually... Holy crap. Okay, so this produces a lot more power than before. I'm not sure if it's because they've changed the configs or if the mod itself has changed. Before, I believe this mod was highly configurable in terms of what you could do with it in the config settings outside of the game to change how it acts inside the game. So it definitely looks like... Holy cow, man. Yeah, they've someone's changed something. I'm not sure if it's the mod pack itself or the mod authors. But yeah, this is producing a lot of power. So right now I'm producing 5 buckets of steam, and all of that's being used. Let's tell it to make more steam by upping the throttle here. Let's give it another 10%. It probably won't double the steam output, but it will give me plenty more steam. So I'm using 9 buckets right now. So it's producing... Wow. Okay, so if you look right here on this gauge, if you just hover over this, it tells you that the rotors perform best at either 900 or 1800 RPMs. So, holy moly, this thing is producing power. This is a lot more power than it has in the past. And let's try to get it to that efficient range. I don't know if they've implemented this, but in the past, mod authors have said that they planned to implement the turbines actually being able to explode if they got over 2200 RPMs. So this gauge does go up to 2200 RPMs. Either it's going to maybe stop at that point, or it might catastrophically fail. So that's one thing we have to watch out for. So before I go any further, I'm actually going to shut this off, and I'm going to start adding my diamond blocks. So if we paid attention there, it was producing about 9.2 buckets worth of steam. So let's go ahead and throw in diamond blocks and see where that gets us. So I actually grabbed a lot more diamond blocks than I needed, but that's okay. So let's dive in here. And so one thing to know about these reactors is that the radiation emitted from the reactor fuel rods, which are what we are going to be playing with these diamond blocks, are only emitted in cardinal directions. So we don't need to worry about the diagonals from the rods. We just need to add diamond blocks to the cardinal directions from the rods to the casings. So that's what I'm going to do with this. And actually, while I'm here, let's go ahead and... Oh shoot, you know what? That's probably not going to work. It might work. I'm going to try it anyways. So let's add this tap back. Apparently I have too much stuff in my inventory. Is there anything I can get rid of? No, not really. There are things I can put in this over here though. Plenty of things, so let's get rid of some of that. Let's drop back down in here. Let's put this reactor coolant port back. And cool, it actually kept its... Oh, it's because I changed that one. Okay, so that seems to work. Let's go ahead and use the wand here if I still have it. And I do want to set it to be none, no restriction. And that should be able to lift my diamond blocks up, like so. So let's form up this reactor and see where we're at as far... That is the wrong block. I need this one right here. And let's see how much steam we make now. So if I turn this on, it should be a decent amount more. It's not a lot more, but it is more. So diamond blocks aren't great for this. But honestly, for me, they're kind of cheap, so whatever. Oh, I see what happened. I didn't do the other side, essentially. Because there's graphite in the middle rather than diamond blocks, the pattern wasn't able to carry. So I do need to do the rest of the reactor here. Whoops, that's my bad. And actually I need to do these center ones first because they are not part of what I will hit with this wand. So this should help a lot by doing, you know, all of the reactor rather than just part of it. Okay, so let's try this again. So before it was 9.2 buckets per tick. We are seeing an improvement here. Not a huge improvement, but it is more. And let's see where we're at as far as RPM this goes on this turbine. So it does take a little while to spool up, although it spools up faster than it used to. And if we actually disengage the coils, we can make this thing spin up really fast. Okay, so we are under the target because, as we can see, the RPMs are falling right now. So let's go ahead and make a little more steam. And I need to be a little bit more careful now. So let's do it a few percent at a time. So let's try 75 and see kind of where that's at as far as production goes, and then how fast the turbine is going itself. Okay, so wow, that's a lot of power. Wow. So we are starting to get there. Okay, yeah, we're not quite there yet, but we are close. So let's do maybe 2 more percentage points. Okay, so we're going up. And how much steam are we actually making / using? Okay, so it's around 15 buckets. Let's start playing with the limiter over here. Okay, so first off, let's get it back to exactly 1900, and then let's go down to 15. Let's actually go to 15.5. And then let's come over to the reactor and tell it to be able to make that much, because right now we have no extra steam. So let's up the throttle just a little bit. I'm holding Alt here to do all the rods. I should start to build steam in the reactor at some point. because we are making more steam than the turbine can use, although it's probably just filling its buffer right now. Okay, yeah, very slowly filling its buffer. And we are slightly oversped, so let's back this down just a little bit. Let's do 15,400 maybe. Okay, so that seems to be actually a really good location for this reactor. It is slowing down just a little bit, but that's fine. It should settle pretty soon. In fact, the maximum power output is somewhere around 1830 or 1840 or 1850 if I remember right RPMs. But like I said, like this says it's most efficient at 1800, but because the efficiency drop is so slow at first, by overspeeding it just a little bit, you can actually get more power out of the reactor. So this thing is producing 229,000 RF per tick. Right now the energy is not going anywhere, but that is a really cool amount of power. And so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to build the second turbine, and I'm going to do that off camera. And once I have that done, I will be right back. So I am back, and I have my second turbine built. It is just a mirror of the first turbine here, and I actually have it off for right now because, to be honest, I don't need any more power that I'm getting from this one turbine. Right now my base is not using very much power because I don't have any void miners here, and in the future that is going to be changing. So that's kind of why I built this power system today, just kind of looking ahead to my power needs of the future. So the last thing I actually need to do is I need to hook this up to my energy grid, and I have this ultimate universal cable for that. I also should probably think about replacing all of the rest of my cabling throughout my base here with this ultimate universal cable, because I had been using the elite universal cable. Although that shouldn't be too much of a challenge, as there's not actually that much energy cabling around the main area of the base. I probably won't change out the energy cabling in a lot of my base, like outside of the main system here, outside of like the main tunnels here, because the different conduits actually connect up just fine to each other. So what we're going to do is I just need to run this to my turbines, and then my turbines will be connected to the main grid, which is fantastic. So let's go right here, and because I have that reach enchantment, I can reach that. So there we go, and now let's tidy this up real fast. Fantastic. One last thing I do want to mention is that, oh wow, did not mean to do that, is that this reactor right here, I'm probably going to get rid of it as it is no longer very efficient. As we can see, it's producing 7,500 RF per tick approximately, but it is very inefficient. That turbine's producing 220,000 RF per tick, so this is just kind of unneeded at this point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it off, probably for the last time. Probably going to tear it out between episodes here, and yeah, because I have a much better power gen system now. So in today's episode, I built this reactor and turbine setup. It produces quite a bit of power, kind of an insane amount of power actually, as I only anticipated each turbine to do about 20,000 RF per tick, because that's kind of what it has done in the past. But now I'm getting 200,000 RF per tick. I am able to give it a lot more steam than I was before, so that's another thing that's different than past iterations of this mod. So if you enjoyed today's episode, feel free to leave a like down below. If there's anything I could have done better or differently, just let me know down in the comments below as I try to read all the comments. If you enjoy large-scale automation in modern Minecraft, definitely consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already. Anyways, signing off, I am Minecraft Phenom 08, and I will see you next time.